Hello relatives, got a new story for you today. Kind of bummed that I gotta start my videos out this way, but I do not reach out to people for readings, and if you decide to follow, the real profile that is not the imposter has 100,000 plus followers. So please look for that one, and please share to keep these stories alive. Here we go. Once, when the world was younger, there was an old woman, and she was a wise woman. She lived in a small village in the mountains. One day, she decided to travel to go see some relatives in a nearby village. And so she packed her pack, took it with her, and went for this long stroll. She wandered through the mountains, marveled at the beauty, paused to take in the sights. She came upon a small stream, and she sat looking at the beauty of the water tumbling through. And then she saw something shiny and glinting from the stream. As she came closer, she noticed that it was a huge, precious gem. Absolutely beautiful. Wading into the water, she snatched it up and held it up to the sunlight, watching the facets of it bounce back in gleaming color. Oh, she was so happy and grateful to have found such a thing. She knew its value. She knew what it could bring. And she took it and placed it in her pack. Continued on her way. She walked through the day until finally she found a spot to stop and have an evening meal. Lighting a small fire, she began to cook her food. As she did, a hungry traveler happened by, smelling the food. Oh, he called out, "That smells delicious. Well, come share some." She beckoned to him. Slightly suspicious, but who can turn down food when we're this hungry? He came and sat next to her by the fire. She opened her pack and dug in it to bring out more food to cook and share. When she did, he saw there in her pack this massive, glinting, precious gem. "Oh," he exclaimed, "where did you come by that? That's incredible. Something like that could set me up for life. I would have no worries anymore if I had something like that." And the old woman smiled, reached into her pack, took out the gem, and handed it to him without hesitation, without thought. He sat there staring at it in his hand, his mind wandering with all the things that he could possibly do with something that had this much value. She handed him food, barely noticed what he ate, said, "I thank you for this gift. I must go." And even though night was falling, he leapt up and continued on his way, lest she change her mind. She did not call him back, however. And so he practically ran, moving as fast as he could, getting home. A day passed and then another. But the closer he got to home, something began to stir within his breast. How could and why would this old woman, obviously not wealthy, give me something of such great value without thought or hesitation? Doubt filled him. Could it be fake? Is it a trap? Was it a test? What is happening here? Something isn't right. What does she know that I do not know? Almost the third day, as he neared home, that nagging feeling, that doubt in his breast, could no longer be ignored. So he found himself turning around and retracing his steps. He hurried back to where he had last met the old woman, knowing there were villages nearby. He stopped at one. No one knew her. He kept going, stopped at another. No one knew her. Another. "Oh, yes, she has relatives in this village here." As fast as he could, he found himself racing to where he could find this old woman. When he reached the village, sought her out, and fell on his knees before her, pulling the precious gem from his pocket and holding it back to her. He said, "Wise woman, please," he begged her, "take this back and tell me instead, what is the inner wealth that you have that would allow you to give something so precious away without thought, without hesitation, without fear?" So it is. I share with you this story because this is a path I walk. Lack mentality has been a big thing for my whole life. I've been homeless with 3 children. I've been a teenager eating out of the garbage, so happy to find food sitting on top that was untainted. I have been in a place where they've shut my electricity off when I have kids, going to hurry and buy ice with what little money that I had left, trying to preserve everything that's in the freezer while I went to work that night, hoping that I would make enough to go pay the electric bill the next day. Us all sweltering in the heat for no air conditioning. I know what it is to be without, and I know what it is to fear not having, not knowing where more money will come from. I know what it's like to live without that firm security of money sitting in the bank just in case. And yet I've learned over time my focus on that security, my fear of not having, that seems to just keep me trapped. And if I really take a step out and look at it, yes, all the times that I have went without, and yet I haven't, have I? Because here I am all this time later. I made the money, I paid the electric bill. The Hot Pocket somebody had taken a single bite on and placed on top of a newspaper in the trash can all those years ago. All I had to do was cut off a little piece. There was food in my belly. I never really truly went long without. Even when we were homeless, I was able to go wait in line for 4 hours and get hotel vouchers so that my children and I might have a roof over our heads while we sought for new housing. My needs were always taken care of. Not necessarily in the way and to the degree that I would prefer. Would have been really nice to not have had those experiences to that degree of lack, and yet they've taught me a level of gratitude and compassion that I wouldn't have otherwise. They taught me a measure of faith that my needs would be provided for. Maybe not all my wants, but my needs and those of my family would be provided for. It is not an easy thing to hold on to that faith. That is the end of the story, but I believe what she told him as he sat there on his knees giving her back this gem, I believe she would have told him to keep it. For what need did she have of it? She had everything she needed. Family, love, shelter. What need does she have of wealth and big things and fancy things and giant jewelry and fancy horses, whatever was happening at that time? I believe she would have given it back to him. And I believe that she would have told him that the inner wealth that I have is faith and a deep inner knowing that even in times of trials and tribulations, even in times of lack and loss and challenges, our needs are always met. It is not your needs that you always strive to fulfill. It's your wants or the way that you want things. And that is where I find so much, that is where my stress comes from. I want more things. I want more than I have. I want more money sitting in the bank so that I can feel more comfortable within myself. And when I find myself sitting in my wants, I so easily lose track of the gratitude and the acknowledgement that all my needs are met and provided for. It was not an easy lesson to learn, but I will believe that she would tell him, because the inner wealth is the gratitude. It is the gratitude that we have that our needs are met, that we have love around us, and if it's not immediately there, we have the choice and the opportunity to go forth and find that love. If our family is not there, we have the opportunity to go forth and make family. If our community does not resonate with where we are or our beliefs, we have the ability to go find another community that does. Where are we truly without? Feeling like we're without? Yeah, that can happen a lot. But that feeling and the truth of what is possible are often two very different things. So I tell you this story in hopes that perhaps you pause and take a breath and acknowledge that your basic needs are met, that it's the faith so much that is the inner wealth that needs to be built and shored up within us, that it is the abundance of spirit, of love, of capacity, of knowledge, the courage that it takes to seek new awareness, face change, create something new or different in our lives, even in the presence of fear and sometimes outright terror. And yes, sometimes the willingness to let go of what we have so that we have the space or the energy or the motivation to create something new. So who would it be if you had a choice? Would you be the old woman so secure in her faith, her gratitude, and her knowing that her whole life she's lived, and the needs have always been met, that you would give away wealth if you stumbled upon it? Or would you be the man that took it, so fearful it would be removed, and ran away? Or would you be the man at the end of the story who chose to turn around, recognizing that the wealth was not the precious stone and the physical abundance? It was the strength, power, will, and confidence that resided in the wise woman that was the true wealth. That was the real gift and the real blessing. So much love, my relatives. Have a beautiful day.